So tell me this: how is technology impacting the whole field of treasure hunting, archaeology, AI? How is that changing things for
I
the good
mean,
or the better or
I
the
mean,
worse?
I think what I'm doing, I've been harnessing technology since it started.
Hmm.
So in fact, before I started when I started the website in 1999, before that, you used to be able to buy printed lists of find spots. Then people would go there and then they would plot them and then they would get an idea of where they might find something else. You know, I'm not for one moment suggesting people go on protected sites,
Hmm.
but the idea is you see where a site is and then you look at the paths leading to the site, look at the whole area, and then try and work out where there may be a place where somebody might have camped outside, for example, a Roman fort, maybe a kilometre away. Then the internet came along, so that I digitized all that information.
Yeah.
So I went through all the records,
Yeah.
creating, coordinate the era. So one of the first ones was Anglo-Saxon burials by a guy called Meany, 1963. So I went through that whole book, typed the coordinate in, and created a database. And then I went through different databases, and then I started scanning information from all different reports. And then I wrote a program that I call the Archie Brain that read it all. So that was the first use of in my view. People were doing it before,
Yeah.
but I was using free text. So I didn't have people weren't typing it into a database. I was written programs because I didn't have the facilities to do that. There's no budget, whereas some authorities and government organisations have millions to spend. I had nothing to spend.
Yeah.
So then the next iteration, the next leap came with Google Maps.
Yeah. That was a big thing, wasn't it?
Google aerial photography. That's
still
but,
amazing, really.
but just before Google did the online aerial photography on their maps, they were working with Blue Sky, and you could buy CDs for a county of the quite
Yes, I
low res
remember
area.
that. Mm.
Yeah, you remember that? Yeah.
Hmm.
So then Google Maps came out, which I thought was was a killer, would have killed my website. But in fact, it did the opposite. It did the opposite. People
Yeah.
became interested, but it was still a niche market because it was still people who had to know about the aerial photography and they had to know about my site. And then the biggest leap was with the advent of mobile phones.
Mm.
So that before that, it was just geeks and enthusiasts and it's kind of niche markets. And once the mobile phone came out, if you went to Google and you typed in a map of, I don't know, old map of, let's have a think, Brighton, yeah, you would
Yeah.
never get it. You'd have to go to a box shop and buy the
Yeah.
map. Now
Exactly.
you go to Google and it goes onto my site. Then you get the old map and you say, oh, this is great. Then you
Mhm.
click a button and it puts a layer of archaeology on it. Then it'll put a layer of historical, and you build up an image like that. So that's what technology is doing. AI is going to take it a step further in that the obvious thing is predictive archaeological site prediction from crop marks. So generally, we would look at it with our eyes and sort of see a crop mark, but we can only do one every 5 minutes or whatever. Whereas with AI, once you program the rules into the system, it can then look for the patterns that you'll say as a crop mark. So that's the next stage for AI. Then the other thing is with AI is you. But what I want to do is all this data that I've captured from the thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of journals and reports is then create a data set that I can somehow use to train an AI system. And then so you'll go to my website and you'll type in, ask it any question, and it will have it. It will have it amongst all those millions of words. Hopefully, I've got to learn how to do it first. But that's the next stage. Well, the next stage will be discovering new. But that's computer technology and the internet.
Yeah.
But then you've got remote sensing. Remote sensing is the next big thing.
What's that?
I mean, remote sensing is, as the name suggests, it's like sensing something remotely. So I mean, a metal detector is kind of like a remote sensor, but you basically got to be on
But
top of it
you're there.
to find it. If you could fly a
So
plane,
it's just drones and things like.
drones, exactly right. So if you've got a drone which can somehow send some kind of
Wow, that's a
signal,
really good idea.
send some, it's got to have something of it, like penetrate the soil, bounce back, and then you can, that's where the next iteration for metal detecting or treasure hunting or prospecting is going to come in. So technology is going to take us to new, to a different level. And
Yeah.
I'm particularly interested in it because I think when the Romans left, they there's a reference to that they left unimaginable treasures. Right. So remember, they buried unimaginable treasures
True.
somewhere in England, and the writer said, "But you'll never find it." But obviously, at that time when they wrote it, we didn't have metal detectors, they didn't have remote sensing, we didn't have lidar, we didn't have photography.
Didn't have
Do you know what I mean?
drones.
They
Yeah.
didn't have AI. So who knows? Maybe that'll be
Yeah.
found. So and there's lots of stuff. While at the National Archives, I came across so many references, medieval references to
Yeah.
treasure, even from medieval times.
There's
Which,
even like Nazi treasures and stuff around, no?
sorry,
Like treasures that Nazis buried.
I mean, yeah, because I think we both worked on the project from the
Looted
was it
out.
well
No?
looted art. We
Yeah.
both worked on that project, didn't we?
hmm
And that obviously you start thinking about the where the gold was. There's this fabled gold.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me. If you're in a retreat from
Of course.
a
Yeah.
war, then and you can't take your stuff with you. You're going to bury it somewhere.
And they had a lot of stuff
Yeah,
looted from everywhere. So it
well,
had
but
to go somewhere.
that's what's been happening for thousands of years.
hmm
That's the treasure I found. Same thing.
Yeah.
Somebody's in a
Panic.
process of with retreat,
Yeah.
and they need to bury their stuff.
Yeah.
But they never came back to find it, to
Chris,
retrieve
there's
it.
so many. I don't know if you're following these things, but there's so many underground cities being discovered. I think there's one in Turkey. There's maybe one in Malta, if I'm not wrong, in China. Huge cities that we never knew about. So who knows what else is down there?
Oh, who knows? I mean, the other thing is, it's like that brings to mind the quest for Atlantis.
Yeah, exactly.
The clans, the quest for Atlantis, and in the sea, who knows what was going on.
Yeah,
But
and then we have the ocean, and that's a whole new thing because there's so many shipwrecks
there
down
must be
there.
so many that are beyond the range of sonar.
Yeah,
Which advances in that technology, in those technologies,
yeah,
could reveal them. They could be a couple of kilometers down. Who knows?
yeah,
And who knows what they're going to? Not just a treasure. Who knows what they're going to tell us about trade
yeah,
in that period? That's the point. That all these finds will tell you about, especially with treasure finds, tell you more about trade,
yeah,
and then that tells you about relationships between
yeah,
different cultures. That's what
yeah.
trade is.
This exactly. Once you have information, it can get connected to so many unrelated things. I remember working in the National Archives on a project with the Met Office, and basically we were looking at ship logs where different ships on a daily basis, apart from other things, were noting down what the weather's like. Um, and then we gathered that data, digitized it, made a database, sent it to the Met Office, and the Met Office was able to use that to understand weather change and climate change and everything.
Yeah, and it's also sort of to prove or disprove the current the current narrative
Yeah,
about it.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
um,
those records were very accurate and they were being captured every single day. So if it wasn't for those ship logs, it would actually be really hard to find that kind of data anyway.
mm. and
Um,
and the other thing about the National Archives is the trench maps. I found fascinating. You wouldn't know because when we were working on the trench maps, I looked at Google, Google aerial photography, and there was no way you got on Street View. There's no way you would known that in 1943 there was an army down there in those trenches along that country lane,
yeah.
fighting the Nazis. You shouldn't know it.
By the way, so you mentioned crop um, crop circles. What
crop
did you call
marks.
it? Crop marks. So
Mm.
is that something you're following as well in your website? Do you identify those?
Yeah, crop marks is usually the first place that you're going to first thing you're going to look for in an aerial photograph will be crop marks. I mean, you'll follow a road,
Hmm.
a pathway, and that's a crop mark. Often it's a mark in the crop because there's differential growth
I
between
see.
where the crop normally grows and where it's been disturbed by human activity,
Okay.
and
So
that's
this
called a
isn't
crop.
like crop circles as in the film Signs. This is like where we can identify people, human traffic, or people walking on a path and causing a mark.
I mean, yeah, generally it's disturbance. It's disturbance of a natural
Yeah.
crop, and usually there's certain patterns. So, for example, the generic crop mark for a Roman is that they'll all be a certain size, often square, rounded corners for a Roman fort, and then an Iron Age Celtic crop mark it was more circular. Then sometimes you'll see a Roman's crop mark with circular inside it. So that's telling you that there's different multi-period activity in the same spot.
Hmm.
So that's what you look for crop marks.
But that's amazing as well that those marks still exist after such a long period of time, and you can still identify them and make something out of them.
It is. I always I kind of liken it to like a scar. You know,
Yeah.
when you're a kid and you fall over and you cut your head and you've got a
Mm.
scar for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It's just that's what it is. It is a scarring of the land
Mm.
from human activity,
Wow.
and they often have similarities to certain kinds of activity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we didn't get to Morocco. You've been to Morocco, no?
Mm.
Did you do any treasure, like kind of prospecting there, or?
I mean, Morocco was more because it's a fascinating place.
Yeah, it
Fascinating
is.
with the desert, and then
Yeah.
it's the link to North Africa.
Hmm.
You got the Sahara. Um, Again, movement of trade, and that just fascinating. It's good to go to a place and then to see for yourself
Yeah.
the kind of challenges that the environment and the geography
Hmm.
will impose on you if you want to do, for example, do trade. So I didn't know that they set off camels from North Africa to go across the Sahara unmanned with
Wow.
with
I didn't know that.
yeah, yeah, because the camels just know the way. And then there was I can't remember the name of the river. I should do, but there's a particular river going through Morocco which had water mills all the way down.
Hmm.
So and again that would be used to grind corn.
Yeah.
And again you can get an idea of the people rather than the stereotype that you're fed at school, or
Yeah.
you can get more of an understanding of people and from different cultures just
Morocco
from
is
the
also amazing because it's got so many historic sites, but even historic businesses. I remember when I went to Morocco, the hotel we were living in, the building was 300 years old, and there was lots of surrounding. They in Morocco they have some of the oldest leather tanneries in the world that are like over 1,000 years old, and they still do leather tanning exactly how it used to be done back in
wow.
the days. No chemical use. It's all animal waste and other things that they use. So yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about Morocco this morning actually because it reminds me of Turkey because
Mm.
Turkey is the bridge between the Europe
Yeah.
and Asia, and Morocco is I think is like the transition point between what we now know as Europe
Yeah.
and North Africa.
In Africa, exactly.
So there's a reason why there was trade there because
Yeah.
it was a hub. It was a hub, and you also got the seaports. You got it's got a seaport. You've got land routes. So its geographical position lends
Hmm.
itself to being a place of significance in trade, international trade.
Yeah.